All right, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be learning about our fourth program that we're using this year called Adobe InDesign. So let's go ahead and create a new file. We're going to choose print. We're going to go into orientation. We're going to choose vertical. Let's change this to inches. And it should be 8.5 by 11. And we can kind of leave everything else the same. So this program is used for creating publications. Very similar to Canva. But there's a lot more you can do to it, and it communicates with the other Adobe products. It's also a lot more complicated. It takes a little bit more practice to kind of get used to it. So we're going to start off by setting up a grid system to help us kind of be more organized on this. So I'm going to go up here to layout, create guides, and I'm going to set this to preview, and then I'm going to set the number of columns to 3. And let's change this to adjust to our margins right here instead of our page. And then we're also going to do let's do 3 rows as well. And it gives us this nice little grid of rectangles that we can use. So we'll click OK. And we're going to start off by creating a rectangle right down here using the rectangle tool, which you might find hidden in this area. And you can see that just like in Illustrator, we have a fill and a stroke. So let's go ahead and give this fill red and set the stroke to none. And go to your selection tool. And I'm going to use Alt to make a copy of this. And then I'm going to use Shift to keep it in a straight line. So we'll have 3 right here. Now if I hit W, this is what the page looks like. W again, this is it with the guides. Those guides are not going to print. They're not really there. They're just there to help us right now. Next, let's go ahead and create a image frame using this rectangle frame tool. And we're going to go right up here and just click and drag. And then I'm going to use the selection tool to make some copies of that as well. And there we go. Now this is, if you hit W, it disappears. This is where we're going to put our images. So we'll get some filler images to put in there. But in the meantime, we're just going to go ahead and let's use text to image. And we're just going to say that we're going to just pick something random here. You can just literally just pick any random one up there, or you can just say like, I don't know, let's say we're going to create one for a restaurant. So we have a new bistro diner that's opening up. We're going to go ahead and generate that. And it'll just stick it right in there. Now this is good for filler. We don't use this for the final product. This is to create what's called a template or a mock-up. And we have 3 of them, so let's go ahead and use one each for those. So we're creating a new restaurant, and this is going to be like a flyer for the grand opening. So the next thing I'm going to do is come up here. I'm going to use an ellipse frame tool, and again, this is where a picture goes. And using Shift, let's keep it in this little quadrant right here. So let me move this down right about there, and I just want to make it go up a little bigger, like that. And maybe let's go ahead and try again. Let's say bistro host. Let's see what that says. Okay. Whatever one you want is fine. And let's hit W. We can see it kind of cuts it off, but that's probably okay. You could always resize this a little bit if you need to. I'm trying to get it so that it would stay on the edges right there. Now, if you need to move it, you can double click, and that'll take you from the frame to the image. So I can move the image, or I can move the actual frame. By double clicking, I can go back and forth. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now let's put a stroke on this. We'll do that red one again and make that a little thicker, just like in Illustrator. And you can see that these blue lines, those are our gutters. That's the distance we want to kind of keep in between edges. So it might be a good idea to change our stroke to be a fill on the inside instead of the outside or the middle. So I'll click on that right there, and I just click on the word stroke to pull that up. So just to keep it nice and clean looking. So now let's put some text right here. We're going to say in this little area, grand opening, and I'm going to select this text, and I'm going to make it bigger. And I'm going to center it with this button right here. And you can also just hit enter to make that 2 different lines if it doesn't quite fit. And we'll make that red as well. So I select the text by double clicking and then set to red. And then I'm going to go back to my selection tool to deselect it. We're looking pretty good here. Now let's go ahead and put some text in right here, and we're going to use some filler text. So I'm going to the type tool. I'm going to drag a box from about here to there, and then I'm going to go to type, and then I'm going to go to fill with placeholder text, and that looks like this. So that's not bad. Now let's maybe just put a couple of text boxes right here. So I'm going to take the text box again, and I'm just going to draw a box right there, and we'll just say free samples. I'm going to select the text and make this white. Now, if I don't select the text and I make it white, what it's going to do is it's going to make the text box white. And so I don't want that. So you have to actually select the text. Now we want this to be like in the middle here. Maybe, so I'm just going to make that text box smaller, and I'll just stick it right here. Then I'm going to use Alt to duplicate it. And keeping those all in line, let's change this to face painting. And we'll change this one to espresso. Go to my selection tool. I'm going to hold down Shift to select all 3 of these, and then just make sure that they are centered. And there we go. Everything looks pretty good. Now I might need to come in and clean it up a little. I see that that's just a bit off. So I'm just going to make sure that those are lined up. Get a nice clean design right here. And there we go. Shift W will give you a final look at what it looks like. And you can see that that looks pretty clean, pretty nice. Didn't take us long. And this is, again, because we're using just AI images, this would just be like our template. Then we would have to actually go out, take our photos if we were doing this for a client. But this would be like a good thing to show them. It's kind of like, hey, here's what it might look like when it's finished. And I'm thinking that this probably just needs to be centered a little bit more in this blank area. And that's about it. All right, so that's just a quick little introduction to this program and what it can do for you. When you're done, you're going to file, export. Choose, let's go ahead and do a JPEG for this one. Stick it in your pictures folder. And I'll call this one my name, InDesign practice. And then that'll give us, make sure that this is 300. You can set the quality to medium. That should be about it. So if you go into your JPEGs, your images should be there. There's the final product. Looks like this. Go ahead and turn that in.